Hi, I'm Adrienne from Performance High.
And I'm Justin, also from Performance High, producer, recording engineer, and coach. And today we're going to talk about
What you should know before going into a studio to record vocals for the first time.
Right, we're just going to talk about what recording vocals in a studio is like. And it's going to be the same whether it's a fancy $1,500 a day studio or whether it's a bedroom producer's studio. The process is going to work the same. So first thing I would like to start out with is almost never do professionals sing a song all in one go. Meaning you don't have to sing the song all the way through from start to finish. You can if it works for the vibe, but don't go in there thinking you need to get it perfect all the way through. There's lots of ways we're going to talk about that professionals get professional sounding recordings without singing it perfect. And you certainly don't have to get it right the very first time you try.
Yeah. And of course, you can find exceptions. I mean, I think Bob Dylan is famous for only doing one take, and if the engineer didn't get it, that song's not going on the record. And Adele, I think, is a one or two take singer. Whitney Houston famously did like 2 tries of I Will Always Love You, and they did like the first half and the second half and stuck them together. But yeah, generally don't be nervous thinking I've got to get this right all the way through, or I've got to get this right the first time. What was your experience? When you were first going to record vocals, were you worried about anything? I think, I was nervous.
Yeah.
And I didn't sing out. So that's a big problem for a lot of new people who haven't sung in the studio before, is they see this microphone right here and they hear themselves really well in their ears. And so they sing really quietly, right. Even if it's a big song. And so this is probably tangential, but you need to learn to just sing out.
That's a big one. We'll say we should talk about that. What you hear in the headphones is not how the final recording is going to be. If your vocal sounds too loud to you in the headphones, that doesn't mean that it's going to be too loud on the final recording. You need to sing full volume.
Or ask to be turned down.
So don't think what you're hearing in the headphones is the final. That brings us to headphones, which is an incredibly important point. Never do a take. Never, ever, with any engineer, do a take where the headphones are bothering you in any way. Engineers hate that more than anything, for you to get done with the song, and we've all sat there for 4 minutes, and you go, oh man, I couldn't hear myself at all. I don't even know if what I did was good. You're like,
why did you waste everybody's time?
Why did you waste, stop and say, hey, by the way, I can't hear myself. Or if you're too loud and you're going I can't sing fully because it's making me crazy. I'm so loud. Always stop, get the headphones right. Every engineer in the world wants you to have the headphones right. You're not annoying us. Stop, ask for it. I guess that brings up another good point, which is don't feel like you work for the engineer. I mean, you might if you're a session singer and they've hired you to come in and sing. If you're paying them, they work for you. If you're paying me, I work for you. I don't need you to do anything right. I don't need you to do it quickly.
That's a good way to put it. I never thought of it kind of in those exact terms before. I always felt like I'm imposing.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's taking me 10 tries to get it the way I want it.
Right.
Well, that's totally normal.
And that's the engineer's job, is to sit there with you while you do the thing. I see a lot of singers do that where they feel like, they're imposing, or they're like, oh, I hate to ask, but blah, blah, blah. It's literally my job to turn stuff up and down. I didn't say it's my life. So just remember, they're working for you, and what an engineer wants is to get the best final product possible. And if they don't, then you may want to consider getting another engineer. Any good engineer, what they want is to get the best final product. So they want to do anything and everything they can do to get you that best final product. So that said, let's talk about what actually recording looks like.
So you walk into the studio.
They will set up a mic for you. And
Maybe a few. You might try.
might try some.
Mics.
Yeah, that's right. That's a great point. Sometimes you do try 3 or 4 microphones, just have you sing through a little bit, see which one. Every microphone sounds different on every voice. So you kind of don't always know. Most of the time, there will be a control room, which is where the engineer sits and there's the speakers and all that stuff. That's called the control room. And then there'll be the live room or the tracking room or the recording room or whatever they call it. And that will be that separate room, like you've seen in videos and stuff where, you know, there's a big piece of glass and, you know, you stand in there and sing. And I, on the other hand, I really like doing stuff in the same room. So my studio at Performance High is set up so that we are all in one room and you're maybe just standing 5 or 10 feet away from me. Now with COVID, we have a shield set up, but we're in the same room. And I like that because there isn't that awkward thing of you finish a take and then you can't hear them until they push the button to let you hear them in the headphones.
But they're talking to each other and laughing, and you're like, "What did I do?
What did I do?" Yeah, and I feel like it's awkward, so I like keeping people. And there's every chance you could ask for that. You could say, "Hey, do you mind if I stay in here to sing?" And some engineers and producers might not want to deal with that, but most of the time they could go, "Yeah, I'll just turn the speakers down." Or we'll all do it. A lot of times we'll all wear. In my studio, we all wear headphones, so I can hear you, but you know. Anyway, so you walk up to the microphone. And you're going to put on your headphones, and the first thing they're going to need to do is set the level of the microphone so that it doesn't distort, but it also is loud enough that it's nice and clear. And that's just going to take a minute because as you mentioned.
Oh, yeah. A lot of times, I mean, singers have really big dynamic ranges. Some singers are incredibly quiet. Some singers are incredibly loud. And a lot of singers, like me, and a lot of other people have a big range during even a single song.
Yeah.
And so that's why I often don't record the song start to finish, because we can't even set the input at the same level for the verses and the choruses.
Because if I set it so that it doesn't distort when she's loud in the choruses, then the verses are so quiet that I'm not getting a good recording. So again, be patient with your engineer. Give them some time to set up the right level and just sing through it, you know, easy breezy. One thing I'll say, it often happens, everything in the studio takes a minute. So don't necessarily like walk up to the microphone and go, hello, I don't hear anything. In a panicky manner, which many singers seem to do. It does take a second for the engineer to press record so that your voice will go through. There are a few things to set up. Same thing with headphone adjustments too. When you do ask for your vocal to be louder, it takes a second. They have to do something. You know, the engineer in the other room or in the room has to adjust it. It's not like have the thought and it moves, you know.
Although while you're waiting for them to adjust the sound, you need to be providing them some audio input.
Yeah,
so
that's
you
a
don't
great
say
point.
like, "Oh, I can't hear myself. Turn it up."
Right.
Because then they have no sound from you. They don't know where to turn up to.
Right.
So what I would do is say, "Hey, can you turn me up a little bit? Tell me when you're ready." "Okay, I'm ready." And I'd be like, "Okay, 1, check, 1, 2, woo, woo, woo. Yeah, okay, that sounds good."
Excellent. Yeah, that would be great. An engineer would be very happy. So once we've got our level, we're going to decide how we're going to sing the song, whether we are going to go through the whole way based on it might work well for the song. Maybe a blues song or something where we're trying to get the vibe of a whole performance, we might do that. But more than likely, we're going to go maybe get verses first. Sometimes I go through the song, let's get the first verse, let's get the first chorus, let's get the second verse, let's get the second chorus. Other times I go, let's do all the quiet parts, then let's do all the loud parts. And I say but all professional engineers do some version of that. And it's always different, and I don't really care oftentimes. Oftentimes I'm like, how do you want to do it? You as the singer, you tell me. And then if I need you to do it a certain way, I'll say so. But usually it's kind of like, what's the comfort level? And then again, you're going to get multiple tries at each one of those parts. We aren't just going to sing the verse once, good, move on. You might sing it 10 times.
And you're a great vocal producer too.
And I was going to bring up production.
Yeah, you're not just an engineer pressing record, making sure levels are right. Justin is listening for how it feels and how it sounds from an emotional perspective. And so a lot of times he'll give you some advice, like one of my favorite ones is make it more spitty. Spitty.
You're right.
That's one of those things he says. And I don't know what that means as a vocal coach, but it works.
It gets,
or snarly.
and oddly enough, it can sound more happy and it can sound more upset. It just sounds a little more intense. And that's what a producer does. Like an engineer, technically, if I'm just engineering, and sometimes we make this decision before we start recording. Again, not just me, all producers and engineers do this. If I'm just engineering, my job is just getting a good recording. If I'm producing, my job is to help you give the best performance possible. That has the best emotion, that has the best, literal performance. Sometimes that's getting you to loosen up on certain high notes, and just, it's my job to make you sound the best you can.
It's the creative side of the recording process.
It's the creative side of the recording process.
The engineer is doing the technical work, and the producer is doing the creative work.
Yeah.
I mean,
and a lot of producers, engineers are the same people. Yeah. And a producer will work with you to be like, oh, can you try it? Say that word a little differently, or I want you to make that a little more sad, or like take a second and think of something really sad and then sing that line again. I mean, that's not like a great example, but stuff like that. To get the right emotional vibe, because as we all know, there's singing the right notes and then there's singing the right notes with the right emotion, and there's a big difference between those two things. So let's talk about one more reason you don't have to do things perfectly. Two more reasons. So in professional recordings, we do one of two things. One is called punching in. Now, what's punching in? Punching in is where we can grab just one line or even one word. And they call it punching in because the engineer used to punch a physical button on a tape machine.
So how does that go? Like what?
So what we would do is you would sing the verse once and we would go, man, I love how you sang that verse, except for the third line. So what I would do is I would set it up to only record that third line, and we'd play it back, and you would hear your first and second line, or maybe just your second line, and then you would only sing that third line. Meaning we leave the first line, we leave the second line, we replaced that third line by you recording over it, and then we leave the fourth line.
A lot of times I will sing along with myself to get in the vibe, like so I have the same kind of sound.
So you have the same kind of sound, and we'll just grab that one line or one word. Like sometimes it's like, man, that was amazing. You just hit that one word a little weird. And we'll go through, and sometimes I do it on the fly now. I've started doing that recently, where I'll just play it back, you sing along, I'll hit the button and just grab one word. If you're singing rolling in the deep, maybe you say you got rolling in the, and then deep was a little flat. So I might say, sing it again, and I'll push the button, I'll only record that deep. And that's how we fix up recordings. That's how they've been doing it since the 60s at least. So don't think that you're cheating by doing that. Everybody does that. The other thing we do is called comping, which comes from the word compiling, I would assume. And in that case, what we do is we would take let's say we got you to sing that verse 8 times. Then we would go through, and out of those 8 performances that are kind of like stacked on top of each other in the screen, we would pick out the best parts. So maybe take number 4, the first line was the best, and then take number 6, the second line was the best, and then take number 1, you killed that third line, so let's use that. And that's called comping, and you piece the vocal together that way. Again, I mean, that goes back to the 60s and 70s. I mean, that's how David Gilmour, one of the most famous guitar soloists, all of his guitar solos were comped together. He would play 6 or 8 solos, and they take the best parts and put them together. And that used to be work I did sometimes, where someone would hand me a hard drive and go, okay, there's 30 vocal performances, turn that into one great performance. And that's something else that a producer does is help choose those best lines.
But we're talking about singing, it takes a long time to lay down 10 different, 20 different versions of a verse and a chorus, and you do the whole song. So if a song is 5 minutes, you know you might be in there for hours,
Right.
and you might get tired. Your voice might change, and you might think, oh, let's just finish this tomorrow. We only have the last chorus to go. I'll just do that tomorrow. You can't. You have to do it all on the same day.
I don't know why.
Your voice just changes. It's not going to
Yeah.
match the next day.
It's not. You're going to be able to tell that part was recorded differently.
Yeah.
You can get away with it, but your engineer is going to have to spend hours making that work, and it's really important that you get it all in one day. That's an important difference between a producer and an engineer. It's a producer's job to help you manage your time to make sure that you do get it done that day. An engineer, it's not his job to help you make sure that you get it done. His job is to do whatever you tell him to do and just get a good recording. A producer is going to be like, hey, let's move on. We've only got this much time. Or a lot of times for me as a producer, having the experience of working with singers, I can tell when you're getting tired, and I can go, we gotta hit the gas and get this done, because I can tell you're getting tired. And yeah, so again, key points. Number one, make sure your headphones are right. I would say that's the biggest vocal tip anybody can ever get you about recording vocals, is make sure your headphones are right.
And that means right for you.
Right
That's
for
not
you.
Like there's not like some objective measurement of what right is. Like I like to hear my voice really loud.
Right.
Some people need to hear more of the track.
Some people like to barely hear themselves. I've worked with people who really don't want to hear themselves. They want to hear themselves in the room, or take one ear, one side of the headphones off, and then they can hear themselves in the room, and they just want track. So it's right for you.
Yeah.
And make sure you're comfortable. I would much rather spend 15 minutes making sure you're comfortable than waste that 15 minutes getting recordings that just aren't going to be good because you can't hear right, or you just don't feel good, or it's too bright in the room, or whatever. So headphones, make sure you're comfortable. Remember that the engineer works for you, that the producer works for you. Unless they're paying you to sing, they work for you, and it's their job to make you comfortable and to get you a good final product. So always ask for anything you think you need. And then I guess third tip is, we can record songs in sections. We can record songs halfway. We can go over one line and just work on one line and record that one line 40 times until you get it right if we need to. So don't stress going in there thinking, oh my God, I have to get this,
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be memorized.
No, I mean,
You put a music stand in front of you.
you probably should have lyrics. That's a great tip, actually. Unless you are sure that you know that song, maybe bring lyrics. Just makes it easier. But again, the studio shouldn't be scary. Things can always be erased, so don't be nervous.
It's a place to take chances. That's what I like about it,
Absolutely, right. It's a place to, just try things. And I know you do as well. Like when I get vocals from you, there will often be stuff where you just like did a take or just one section where you're just like, I'm gonna get nuts.
Yeah.
And if it works, use it. If it doesn't, here's a more normal one.
Yeah.
So just have fun. Don't stress it. Remember that it's all about you because you are the singer. So that's the best way to get a good recording.
Cool.
Awesome. Thanks for watching. See ya.